Hello all, good morning, good evening or good afternoon. So thank you for the support on part 1, part 2 and part 3. Today we have an option to either go to on-prem or cloud. As per your wish, we will be first trying how you go to cloud from this point. And then in the next video, we'll see how you upgrade this to on-prem. Now before we move further, uh, I have seen some questions around how you merge customizations, how you bring India localization with custom fields. If you have any such questions, put them into the comments. The next series that I'll be doing for India will be taking consideration with the custom fields that you have. So if you would like some custom field in different kind of tables, just let me know into the comments, and that way I'll be able to draft that demo in the way you need it. Okay, one other announcement that I have done in the past, and I'll do it again, is that there is a Teams community which is available where we have engaging quizzes. All the BC open discussions are moved to the community now. There is a MVP program guidance that I'm running there. There's a tech query support where people are helping each other. I'm jumping in wherever possible. So if you are interested, go ahead and join there. And the link to join this will be in the description as well as on the pinned comment. So let's get back to the demo today and we'll see how it goes. See you then. Okay. So let's see what we have. Okay, if you are not following the series, you might find it a little bit confusing, but we started with NAV 2016 and currently we are sitting at version 25. Okay. Now this is help and support, and you can see that we are sitting at 25.6. Now at this point, there will be another video to talk about how you go to 26 on-prem, but right now in this video we'll be talking about how you replicate this data from your on-premise to the cloud. Now to go to the cloud from any prior version, at this moment when I'm recording this, you will have to come to BC25. And 5 years from now or 4 years from now, more or less, you'll have to go to V30. These are called jump versions. There is a separate video about it. You can look at it into the channels about the jump version, but today we'll be doing that. Okay, now in this environment we have 3 companies: Cronus India, Mock and Test. What I'll do, because let me try renaming this company if I can. Let's keep it as it is. Yeah, we'll only replicate 2 companies, which is Mock and Test. As an consider Mock is production more or less, and Test is test, because the Cronus India also exists in my cloud environment, obviously. All right. Now once you are here, and let me go where we are going. This is our cloud environment where the number of companies that we have is Cronus IN and my company. Now I can actually do all 3, because here it's called Cronus India, whereas here it's called Cronus IN. Is it the same or is it the display name? Let's see. Okay, company information. Should I be going there? It says Cronus International actually, but let's go into the companies page, and you'll notice that there are 2 company, Cronus IN, and then here is the Cronus India. So we should be able to replicate all 3 companies. Okay, so let's talk about how you replicate. What are your prerequisites? You need to first switch to your cloud environment and then search for a page called Cloud Migration Management. Mistyped it, but it helps, right? So first you need to pop up the cloud migration setup, as you can see here. Now this is a setup that you run once while you're replicating, and this setup helps you to configure how you replicate your on-premise data to BusinessCentral Cloud using the setup. You accept the warning and privacy notice, then you hit next. At this point you need to choose the product. Now there can be different product, but what you see here are the 2 main product. One is Dynamics 365 current version, which is V26, and the Dynamics 365 earlier version. Now at this point you need to choose your source version, the version that you have in on-prem. That can be version 25 or 26 at this moment only. So because I'm not currently on version 26 on my local instance, Here I'm on 25, so I'll have to choose the earlier version option and hit OK. As I choose that and move to the next, here I need to provide the SQL connection string. Now you don't need to remember this, but when you hover over your mouse over this, a tooltip comes up which tells you what is the format of the SQL connection string that you need to provide. Now you should skip the first colon and things and just copy this message and put it somewhere. Let me see if I can open Notepad easily, and then we'll build our string. Okay, let me see. Here we are. Okay, so this seems to be the string that I need to prepare. The first thing is the server name. Now the server name in my case is localhost. So, and I don't have an instance, so I can just do a localhost. The database name that we are replicating is this NAV 2016 IN upgrade demo. Okay, so that becomes my database name. If there are spaces, put them under double quotes. User ID. Now at this point, you cannot use the Windows account. You will have to set up a SQL account. If you don't have SQL account enabled, in most of the machines you will see that this is not enabled. Head up to your SQL Server properties, and under security, make sure that you have SQL Server and Windows authentication mode on. Both should be on. Now once you select this option and click OK, you will have to restart your SQL Server, which you can do from here, and then you'll be able to create a new login of type SQL login, right? So SQL Server authentication. Now I'll keep it simple. I'll say SaaS replication, and I'll use the same as password. I'll delete it after this, so no worries, but keep a secure password if you can. And then I'm disabling these, but you should not. You should have a username and a password with the password policy set and all, and then click OK. Now once you have the user, you need to make sure that this user have permission to the database that you are kind of replicating, which is this, and then make this user as DB owner. Okay, done that. Now my username becomes this, and my password also becomes this. Okay, this becomes my SQL connection string. So let's come back and let's put that here. Done. Now this field will remain empty. This only gets filled in if you already have tried this and had some issues. Even in that case, I prefer to kind of regenerate the runtime name, and we'll see how this gets generated. So once you click next, it kind of checks the SQL connection string and does the access rights and the permission and the user ID and the password, everything is correct or not. Now if everything is correct, you will get up to the next window. If you get an error message, then your SQL connection string, which is in our case is this, have some issues. Make sure that at the end there is a colon and everything is specified. Once this is done, you need to download a component called downloads, what we call that, self-hosted integration runtime. It's a pretty decent size software, so make sure that you have sufficient amount of space on your drive before you use it. Now what you should be doing here, because there are a lot of options, I always prefer to use the latest version of the integration runtime. There are prior version also, but because I'm doing the migration now, I would like to use the latest version. Now it's a pretty big size, but during uses of this, while your data is being replicated to cloud, it actually grows in size. So I would say approximately 6 to 10 GB space should be there, because this is the engine which takes your data from your on-premise environment to your cloud environment. So don't kind of keep low on spaces, because otherwise you will end up with error messages. Try to keep sufficient space on your disk so that you are able to kind of replicate your data without any issues. Now it'll take some time. I'll wait for it. And then what happens is, the next thing that you have to do once it is done is install the integration runtime thing. which you'll see how you do it, which is pretty simple. And then we'll use this authentication key which has been generated for this particular instance to register or to connect my local SQL server to the migration tool, which then takes data to cloud, right? Once everything is okay, you have configured the authentication key on the integration runtime, we'll be good to hit next and move further into it. So I'll pause the video, we'll come back and see this. But remember to comment on the video about what I'm not covering or what you want on the next series where we have customizations. So I'll pause it. Okay, so this has been downloaded. Let's go to your download, choose to install the software, which kind of runs the same option that you'll be seeing on my screen now. But this is the main component that is needed to kind of copy your data from your on-premise to cloud. Now, while we are waiting for this, one quick question. Do you need your NAV on-prem or BusinessCentral, on-prem service to be running while you are replicating your data? Pause the video and comment me and I'll answer you at the end of it. Okay, so here we are on the integration runtime. Let's click next, accept the license, next, install, which is pretty straightforward, right? You just hit next. I've skipped this part in some of the videos and people do ask me about how you do that. So it's pretty straightforward. You just hit next and you're good with the installation process. Now, while this is installing, do you actually know the answer? Comment me on the comment section that while replicating my database from data from on-prem environment to BusinessCentral cloud environment, does Navigen or BusinessCentral on-premise service need to be running or it can be stopped? And we'll see the response at the end of the video. Okay. So as this gets installed, it kind of sets it up, and then once it kind of gets installed, we'll have to use this authentication key that is listed here. So I'll just copy it to register my cloud instance with this on-prem instance that I have defined in the previous setup. Now, based on this unique authentication key that we see on our screen, both the system kind of get connected with this component, and then this component kind of copies your data from your on-prem environment to your cloud environment, which is pretty straightforward. Then we will have to run an additional step because we are not upgrading from the similar version on cloud and on-prem, because it's 25 on-prem and 26 on cloud. We need to make sure that doesn't cause problem. So let's wait for this to be over and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so it's done. Let's finish this. I'm getting a confirmation, confirmation icon, which I've clicked on it, and that pops up this window on your screen, which looks like this. Now what I'm going to do is copy this, which I've already copied, and paste it here. Here you see that it says welcome to runtime configuration management. Before you start, you need to set up your key. So I provide my key, and then I see a green checkbox here, which means I'm ready to register. Now at this time, it is verifying key. It is making sure that it knows what the cloud environment look like. It also understands what my on-prem environment look like. Now everything looks good, and I'll click finish. Now this will now register that and connect to the cloud environment with my on-premise environment. Now once that happens, kind of good to kind of move forward from there. Now if it is a pretty large database, which I haven't done to cloud yet, make sure the server where you are running this step does not have a hibernation setting or anything which kind of locks the system down, because during hibernation of your computer, the process does not work. So make sure that you have checked your power options. I think the process will warn you if you don't have it. It is not a mandatory requirement, but it's important that if you have a large database that you're saying, okay, I'll start it and then I'll go to sleep and I'll see in tomorrow morning, then make sure that your computer is not configured to get into an hyper mode step behind the scene. Once that is done, we are authenticated. Let's move next. Now at this point, it understand what your on-prem environment look like, and it'll show you the available companies that you have in your on-prem environment, which then helps you to choose what you want to replicate. Now, when you are replicating your data to cloud, you have an option to either replicate every possible company that you have on-prem, or you can just skip the company that you don't need. So in this scenario, I have 3 companies. If I only plan to do 2 companies or even 1 company, I can choose that. So it's completely configurable. You don't have to first go into BC on-prem and then delete your companies and all. You can just define what what company is important for you for the cloud, and only that company will be going to your cloud environment. Another thing to remember, that replication timeline on a sandbox will be slower than replicating on a production environment in cloud. So if you are looking for speed, then sandbox is not the thing for you. You should be replicating to production. Now, there are so many questions around it, and I'll be happy to discuss them into community or into the comment section here, that when or why I should or should not be replicating to my production environment. There are very good steps that you can plan before you start your replication, so that you know where you are replicating and what are the benefits of it. So it's working on it. Let me pause the video and we'll see what happens next. Okay, so surprisingly, I didn't check the setting because I was coming from 2016 and I should have. But it says that your SQL database must be in a compatible format, which is compatibility level 130 or higher. So what you need to do here is go to your SQL server, go to your database that you are replicating, and make sure that in under options you have the compatibility level set, which is, I'll set it to 150. That just based on the SQL version and all. So if this is not set and you're moving next, you might get an error message like this. So now when I hit next, it should be working on it, and it should be showing me the next set of steps that I should be performing at this point. Again, it's going and verifying that my authentication key is validated. I still have connection to my on-prem environment, I'm still connected to my on cloud, and then once it figures it out, it'll kind of show me what my options are at this moment. So let's wait for it. Okay, so as I said, once everything is verified, what you will notice is it shows you all the companies that you have in your on-premise environment, right? All 3 companies and an estimated size in GB. Now this is how much data you have. Now at this point, if the database is kind of big, you can start deciding what makes sense. Maybe you don't want to take the test company forward or any of these company, right? So if you are taking all the companies, you just check this box and that ticks everything. Or you can then go ahead or choose selective company, let's say these 2 in this case, and you'll be able to do it. Now make sure for production environment that it's already in use in business. If you do that, you have a chance of overwriting or deleting the data that is shared across the company. Now understand what it means. It says that if you are replicating your data from your on-premise to a cloud environment, make sure that you are only kind of migrating companies for a production environment which that are not in use in cloud. As in, you should never be replicating in cloud when customer is using something. Even if they are not using it, there is a risk that the data can be overwritten or deleted for tables which are shared across the companies. So if you have a table in your environment which is shared across all the companies, that means the data on that table is common to all the companies. And if you are replicating to an existing environment, then based on whatever the data that you have in on-premise system, that will be the future default stage of your cloud environment. So make sure that when you're doing it for the first time and environment is new, so which is very important. Okay. If you select a company that does not exist, it'll automatically create it. The estimated size of DGB is size of companies in the on-premise database. The actual size of migrated data may vary and will vary, I can tell you. But database tables are excluded from estimate, which are data common to all company. So you can talk about it later. Once you have chosen what companies you want to take, you hit next, and that completes your migration setup. That didn't complete your migration, but the setup is completed. As soon as you hit finish, it'll ask you to open a new page, which is cloud migration management, that walks you around how you want to replicate your data or the progress of it. So it says the migration has been set up. Would you like to open the cloud migration management page to manage your data migration? And you say yes, which pops up a new page which tells you what's happening here. Okay, so let me zoom this in. It says right now it's creating companies. Remember, we have chosen 2 companies, so those 2 companies does not exist in my cloud. That is Cronus IN and my company. There is not test, not mark. So currently what it is doing in your cloud environment is creating those companies so that the data can be copied. Here you'll see the progress of how many tables are successful, and here it tells you the company's status, that under replication you have chosen 2 companies, the replicated companies are 0, and the total companies in your on-prem environment is 3. And based on that, you can kind of see a summary of what's happening. This is our option that you have chosen. Here it tells you that the cloud migration setup has been completed with the start time and the end time, and now you can just keep refreshing the status until the creation company is done. The other way to kind of see how it is moving is you can go to the company selector here, not here. There's a difference, because the company is still being created, that these companies are created or not. So now if you see, the mock is created and the test is created also. So at any moment we'll see that the creation company has been successful and we are good with moving forward. Now, so that's the reason that I recommend people to do it in pieces if you have multiple companies. So if you have 20 companies, it can take good amount of time for creating those companies. In that case, you should do it in parts, and you have an option around it. So once, let's say I have chosen 2 companies and I complete the replication for those companies, when you go to the more option, you will see that you have an option to select companies to replicate, and then you can choose other companies to kind of continue that into parts. Only do it if you have a large number of companies that are going to cloud, right? If you have 1 or 2 or even 5 companies, I guess that's okay, because behind the scene right now it is just creating those companies. And why I said you cannot see it here, because it doesn't show you that stage. What you need to do is always go into my settings, and from company selection you can choose see status. So the setup status is completed, so both the companies are being set up. And now if you see here, the status have changed, that it is ready for replication, which means the company has been created successfully. At this point, you are ready to run the data replication. As soon as you do that and hit yes, the integration tool that we have here, which we configured, will start replicating your data from your on-premise environment to your cloud environment. But to do that, you'll have to kind of first build a number of tables that need to be copied, to calculate how much data those tables have, right? So that calculation is happening right now. You will not see a progress for a few minutes while these calculations are happening. But from a migration perspective, per migration you can see the summary. So if you have 5 migration, every migration, how many tables were successful, how many tables failed, will be visible here. Now remember, if you have PTE, which is not part of this particular video, you should have the same extension as it is available on prem, also available on the cloud. And when I say same extension, does not mean same objects. That's obvious, as in but I also mean that your GUID of the extension should also be same. So you should not be creating a separate extension saying this is my cloud extension, and which is different GUID than my on-prem extension. So your extension ID, or the GUID that we call it, should be same for your on-prem and the cloud extension, because based on that the table and the field nomenclature is stored in your database, and that's how the migration tool works. You can always see the status here, and you can just keep refreshing while it is doing its calculation. You'll notice right now it's doing calculation. It is still trying to figure out how many companies are there, and then here you can see per database table, the company tables and all. So if I look at the mock, I'll see that it is still calculating it at this moment. So that calculation is happening of how many records are available. So let's give it a minute or so. I'll pause the video and we'll come and see that. Okay, so as soon as the calculations are over, there will be slight change on the header section of your cloud migration management. You'll start seeing table remaining and table successful, which kind of tells you if there are total of, in this case 1726 table, how many tables has been successfully completed. Now at this point you'll be able to see it at a table level, that which table is happening or running right now. So when you click on this, which is table remaining, it gives you this window where you can see the status, and you can always apply a filter into it. So let's do a filter where status is in progress, not started is not interesting. I guess it is doing something else at this moment. So if you have multiple run IDs, you can surely filter it from here, but it kind of tells you how many tables has been copied at this moment. So as soon as it hit once, I guess right now, because it prioritizes your system tables first, which is common across all the companies, and copies them, so it'll kind of build that bulk data copy more or less at that moment, and then will show us. But while this is happening, let's understand what these steps are. So run data replication, as we ran, is used to replicate your data from your on-premise environment to your cloud environment. Run data upgrade, that is the only option that you run once you have completed everything that you want to do. So if you have companies that you are doing in parts, you kind of do all those companies and then you run the upgrade. But the only time you run the data upgrade is when you have chosen to upgrade or replicate data from a non-matching current version on cloud. So like in our case, we are replicating from version 25. So once our replication will be over, we'll have to run the data upgrade, which will run Microsoft script to upgrade the data from version 25 in this case to version 26. The refresh status, as we know, it just helps you to refresh the window, which tells you how many tables are done. So as you can see now, 6 tables are done. You can click on it and see what tables had been copied. So there are some lookup field filter tables and script symbol tables, which it chose first, and it tells you how many records you have in the source table, which is on-prem, and how many records you have in the target table. And if there is a difference, then it tells you here, and how many replication it took to kind of copy those. As we keep hitting refresh, you will see that this count will be increasing once the refresh happens. I guess it's done. And then from table remaining, you can also filter out now at this point that which table is in progress, which is not still going. But let's filter on success, and it'll tell you that these tables has been successfully transferred. Are there any warnings? So if you have warnings, you can filter them out. If there are failed tables, which we will have in a moment, and we'll see that, and not started is everything at that moment, so you can just see that it is not started. Now here, if you see, it is not started, but it says the total number of record in the target table is unavailable since the table is protected. So isn't possible to calculate if there is a difference between source and source table. Instead, check the number of record when that were migrated in the last run. Now this come for table which are kind of internal to the Microsoft app, where it cannot count the record. In the example that we are looking at it right now, is called, the table is called upgrade tag. The table upgrade tag is used by Microsoft to store different tag associated to different version that it is coming to. So when you are doing a upgrade, how upgrade knows that you can go from BC14 to BC25, and what steps need to be followed is based on the upgrade tag table. This table kind of stores that this step has been done, this step not has been done. So based on that, system identifies that these steps need to be done. So that's where the upgrade tag table comes into the picture. As we refresh it, hopefully this number should change now. No, not yet. So a pretty big table is being replicated right now. And sorry, because I'm replicating to a sandbox environment, so that can be the other reason why it is slow. But never late, I guess we should see a progress in the table successful to see how it is happening. So I'll wait for a while and then we'll refresh this and see how it is happening. Oh, it started moving pretty fast. It went to 40 directly, 74, 92. So it's, the tables have less data because it's Cronus at this moment, but you can just now will be able to filter on what's happening. So the contact table and the deprecation book table are kind of replicating at this moment, and it kind of doesn't refresh at this area, but you'll have to go back and refresh here to see what's happening. So it's again running a pretty fast, and from table successful you can always check what happened. The difference in this table exists because in the source table, which is my on-prem, there are 1 record and the total record in the target table are 5. Now that is based on the table that you're using. In this example, we are using a table called feature data update status, which is a feature management table in Business Central Cloud, because we are coming from legacy where we did not had any feature added. In version 25, as in there were features added, but there were no records associated with all the features, so it did only copy 1 record, and that kind of gave it the table success status. Here it says that it cannot calculate the target record because there is a lock, more or less. It's a protected table, so it cannot calculate how many record exists in the cloud. Having said that, let's go back. Let's refresh it, and you will notice that from 271 it's actually running pretty fast. I didn't expected this to run that fast, but here I should be able to see what's happening right now. So from the test company, the cost general batch is running right now, and then you can also see wherever there is a warning, it shows you that. Now this is a little bit interesting to see what these warnings are, because people get confused about this. So it says that the table does not exist in the local instance. Now when you think about it, let's go a step back. When you are upgrading from any version to BC25 in this case, you are not installing every possible app, and you should not be, because from a functional standpoint, whatever the data that we had in CAL is actually stored either in the base app, the system app, the system application, and the business foundation app. So these 4 are the core apps, and then because it's India, we have some India extension which are mandatory. So all my data is in those apps. But when you think about the cloud, there are more extensions in your cloud, like billing subscription and things like that, and other extension, digital voucher setup or something like that. Now these table does not exist in cloud. They do exist in your on-prem. They do exist in your cloud, but they are not available on your on-prem, and that's the reason you're getting this warning that the table does not exist in your on-prem, but but it do exists in cloud. So that's the whole idea, right? So it'll take some time, it'll update that, but let's go back and see what's the status look like. So we did a refresh, and if you notice, everything is successful. So all the tables has been copied successfully from both the companies. If you would like to see any failures, you can just check it here, no failures. If you would like to see the warnings which we have talked about, you can just review them here, right? And if there is something which is not started, you can always see it from here. So let's assume we only wanted to replicate two companies, which we have done successfully. All my data is now available in Business Central Cloud. Now, because I'm not coming from the similar version on-prem and cloud, I'm forced to run the data upgrade. Now, there are certain things that you need to remember, that when you click this icon, it'll disable access to this particular environment, because during upgrade, you should not be accessing that environment, and you get a warning around it. It says that the upgrade must be triggered as a last step, because you are not able to run the upgrade again if upgrade is successful. Before you start the upgrade, make sure that you have moved all the companies that you wanted to move and upgrade. You should not replicate additional on-premise data after your upgrade is completed, as per database can be corrupted, and you need to consult the official documentation. As soon as you click yes, you will lose access to the environment. When you start the upgrade process, you can track the process at admin center. Are you sure you want to proceed? So if you don't have other companies to choose from, this should be your last step. You can just click yes, and as soon as you click yes, you will not be able to access this environment, not just this page, not this environment. It'll end up with an error message saying we are doing routine maintenance to give you the latest update. This can take several minutes. Then how you see how long it took? You actually come in your admin center under operations, and then you see here that in the environment that you're doing right now, there's a data upgrade happening, which started at this time and started at this time, and it's not yet completed. So it can take time based on how many upgrade steps are there. If there are less steps, it's kind of completed quickly. Otherwise, it'll take its own time to kind of do that. So let's wait for it, because you cannot, not you just, but no user is able to kind of use this environment at this moment while the data upgrade is happening. Now it's an important step, so you should not skip it, because any data changes in this case that have came from version 25 to version 26 will be handled during this step. And as you see, it's completed because it was Cronus data. When you click on it, it gives you all the detail, that when it was started, when it ended. So now if I go back and refresh this, or go to this environment, which is my IN replicate, I should be able to access this environment. Now let's briefly talk about what the other options are there and which you should be running. It doesn't matter after or before the upgrade, because you cannot just run the replication again after the upgrade is over, but other than that, you can surely run stuff. So let's go into the cloud migration management this time, and you notice that the upgrade completed successfully. Now the final step would be completing the migration, but let's wait. Manage custom table. I'm a little bit confused why this has been done. Oh, this is filled by Microsoft, and they're using it because they had some issues in the subscription billing. So, but in the prior versions, you were able to kind of add things here and then move them between tables and all. That's just completely separate discussion altogether. Define user mapping. So if you have users on-prem, there are not as it is available on cloud, because the user access have changed, and that's based on your Office 365 accounts. So if you would like to update your associated resource, you need to click on this, Right now I don't have any user associated on my on-prem database, but in this window otherwise you will get a matrix, not a matrix but a matching list, where on the left hand side you will see your Navision or your on-prem user, and on the right hand side you have to choose the matching cloud user, and when you hit OK, it just goes and update that. Diagnostic run is an option to run the cloud migration without copying data, to verify that connections and everything is over, which is run before you do actual migration if needed. Under actions, you will see that there's a runtime service key, which we have seen how it is get generated. This option let you choose multiple companies or additional companies if you haven't replicated them. This is important to repair the companion table record. Now what happens is sometimes people report that yes, the data has been replicated successfully. It says table successful is 100%. It tells you every table wise that there are no errors and warning, but users cannot see data into the extended fields on the base Microsoft table. That's where this option comes handy, that you always run this step, which kind of repairs behind the scene the linkage between the main table and the extension table, so that the user can see the data. So always make sure to run the repair companion table record. Sanitize field is something I don't think that you should ever be doing on cloud, but I prefer that you do it on on-prem. There's a matching way of doing it on on-prem. What sanitize data tables does is it removes any trailing or leading spaces or junk characters that you have in the data, as even the tooltip suggests that invoke NAV sanitize field is an action that you should run before cloud migration. So never ever do sanitize tables here. Okay, then here you have the similar options as we saw. Once everything is done, what you do is you complete the migration, and you will have to complete the migration. Let me tell you why. Let me go to or open a separate instance of this environment, because at this point there are certain filters that are applied across the system to kind of make sure that user doesn't do certain things. Until unless you complete your cloud migration, those filters will be kept as it is. So you have to complete the migration, which means read the help, make sure that users have been set up, migration is being done, corrected any errors, run migration, disable cloud migration, which you are doing right now, and review the statement. Once you do this, you click on disable cloud migration, which disconnects your on-prem environment to your cloud environment, and at this moment you're good with your tables and the associated data into the cloud. It takes some time because it is right now removing all the filters which has been set across application, so that user does not generate any data. Okay, so the cloud migration setup was completed. Click OK, click close, and this point this page becomes usable, sorry, and now you can see your companies here, and you can just switch them to those companies as you need it. Now it's not mandatory, as I said earlier, to replicate everything. It is not mandatory to to replicate all the companies if needed. Additionally, as I told you, that always if you have to run the sanitized process on-prem before replication, and the extension, if you have PTEs, the same extension, exactly same extension with the same GUID should be available in the cloud to copy that data during the replication process. So all that data has been copied, all the companies that you see are available here, and that's more or less it. But let's talk about one question that we asked during the video. For replication, do you need your on-premise BusinessCentral service running? And the answer is no. So everybody who said no, I'll put a heart symbol to your answer. But it cannot be yes, because the replication process does not consider your service tier. It directly connects to your SQL database and copies the data that is needed with the matching tables in cloud. Hopefully this video was able to add some value to the confusions that you had in your cloud migration. People who are looking for a journey from 2016 to BC SaaS. Hopefully I was able to kind of deliver that. And as I said earlier, if you have questions around how we handle custom fields, let me know some scenarios, some table names, some fields that I should be adding so that I can prepare a demo based on your needs. I'll not be doing a lot of fields addition across the system, but for a demo, I can just pick randomly some table as per your choice. Now you know the drill at this point. You have to do three things. If you like the content, hit the like button. If you think this is useful for someone who is still learning or doing Business Central cloud upgrades for India localization and has been struggling, share this with them. It's important to share the things that you're learning so that other people also get benefit out of it. And my reach is just you people who are watching it. So you will have to kind of start sharing this so that more people have access to it. And as I say always, if you think that we are doing the good work, then hit the subscribe button. That helps us to understand that we are still doing good. It's been very low for 2025, but that's okay. It's your wish. We'll just follow your commands. And if you have a business related inquiry, reach out to us at info@consulting.com and we'll be happy to help you with your customer needs or your needs. So I'll see you sooner than later into the next video. Till then, keep learning and keep sharing whatever you're learning. Thank you and have a nice day.